In 2012, the Nestle-Aland 28th edition was published, and it integrated the Editio Critica Major, or Major Critical Edition, of the Catholic epistles, including the letter of Jude. And one of the most interesting changes that was incorporated in this latest edition of the Greek New Testament was Jude verse 5. In the 27th edition of the Nestle-Aland, which I have here, it speaks about the Lord who brought the people of Israel out of Egypt. But in the 28th edition, that changed to Jesus who brought the people of Israel out of Egypt. What was going on behind the scenes with this change? Why did scholars begin to see Jesus as the preferable reading? For questions like this, one of the best tools that Verbum has is the Exegetical Guide. And in general, for academic, technical questions, the Exegetical Guide is a great place to start. And I want to go over it with you in this video. Here I have Jude verse 5 in the Revised Standard Version. And as we can see here, it speaks of He who saved a people out of the land of Egypt. And if I run F7 to open up, if I tap on F7 to open up a text comparison, we can see that there's actually quite a bit of variety going on with this verse. The RSV is on the left, and then I have the NABRE, which speaks of the Lord who once saved a people from the land of Egypt. Then we have the ESV, which is an updated RSV translation, which speaks about Jesus, right, following the Nestle-Aland 28th edition. And finally, on the far right, I have the LEB, another very recent translation, which speaks of Jesus. Here I can see as I click on He, I have corresponding words, corresponding highlighting turned on in my Bible here in the visual filters. That Jesus, Jesus, is highlighted in the Nestle-Aland 28th edition. So to study this question, let's go to Guides and open up an exegetical guide and run it on Jude verse 5. The first section of the exegetical guide is called Textual Variants, and it deals precisely with this issue that's so important in Jude verse 5, called textual criticism. Right? Textual criticism attempts to determine what is the most likely original text based on all the different manuscripts that we have. Right? We have over 5,000 Greek manuscripts of the New Testament. What is the most likely original text? And the first section of this textual variants is called Textual Commentaries. And if I open this section up, I can see a number of commentaries that I have in my library that actually discuss these themes. Here's the textual commentary on the Greek New Testament 2nd edition, for example, which is a commentary that was done by the editors of the 27th edition, right, of the Nestle-Aland Greek New Testament, not the 28th. So before they had incorporated this new change, and I can read here about the arguments, the discussions that they had, and the reasoning behind their choice. In the 27th edition, the text read, Ho Kyrios, right, the Lord. And it says, despite the weighty attestation supporting Jesus in all these different manuscripts that use Jesus, a majority of the committee was of the opinion that the reading was difficult to the point of impossibility. Usually difficulty indicates that a reading is more likely, but here they thought it was difficult to the point of impossibility. And as I scroll down here, they continue the discussion, and another discussion here begins in brackets. And when you find brackets in this textual commentary by Metzger, it indicates the minority opinion, right? What were those editors who were of the minority opinion? What is their arguments? And here they say that critical principles seem to require the adoption of Jesus, and the reasons that they give for that. Obviously, that was then the opinion of the editors of the Editio Critica Major and then of the Nestle-Aland 28th edition. But these commentaries are great to understand what are some of the debates going on about as scholars study the over 5,000 manuscripts of the New Testament and try to understand the relationship between them and what the most original reading was. So textual commentaries can be very useful. The next section is called apparatuses, and these are simply the apparatuses that each edition of the Greek New Testament has. Here I can open up, for example, the 28th edition, the critical apparatus, and we have here listed a lot of the different more important variants of this verse. As you can see here, this verse has quite a few variants. And down below at the end of this, there's always this TXT or text that indicates from which manuscript was taken. Did the editors of the Nestle Aland 28th edition take the text that actually appears? And here they're saying that it comes from manuscript B. And if I hover over this, we can see that this is the manuscript from the Città del Vaticano, or the Vaticanus it's called, from the 4th century. The next edition is editions, and these are simply Greek New Testaments that you have in your library, or if you're studying an Old Testament passage, Hebrew Old Testaments, different editions of those, and I can run a text comparison of these if I want to look at that. Then I have transcriptions, no results here for that, but I also have ancient versions. These are ancient translations of the scriptures. In this case, I have, for example, the Vulgate, which reads Jesus. And if I had a Syriac version, for example, that might appear here. The next section can be very interesting. It's called Online Manuscripts. And this is curated from the Institute for New Testament Textual Research, which is an online platform that is publishing and studying all of the manuscripts of the New Testament. And you can get an account here. Some of these images that if I click on will open up in the web page have a little lock on them. That indicates that they are not available to be seen unless you create an account and you send a petition for access. It's designed for scholarly research, but if you are doing research on these, it's not difficult to get the permission. Simply send them an email, and the information regarding how to do that appears on the web page when you click on the link. I can also see here a transcription. This will take me to an online website where I can see the transcription. Down here below is manuscript letter B, or Vaticanus. If I open up the transcription, we can see how this works. On the left, I see column 1, and then the Greek text. And on the right here, notice this is important, this is the actual verse number that these different lines correspond to. So if we scroll down to the bottom here, we can see Jude, and if I scroll down here, verse 5 corresponds to line number 26, in this case within column 3 of the manuscript. And if I open up the manuscript by clicking here on the image, I can then scroll down here in the 3rd column to the 26th line and look directly at this text as it was in the original manuscript. So amazing functionality and integration with the Institute for New Testament Textual Research from Verbum. The next section of the Exegetical Guide is called Word by Word. And this section is very helpful to study the actual Greek of the New Testament. Of course, there's lots of ways to do this in Verbum, using the information tool, simply hovering your mouse, running Bible word study. But this can be one good way to do it if you are interested in reading the text and going a little bit deeper. It presents here on the left the Greek New Testament text, and then on the right an English translation or whatever your highest prioritized Bible is. And as I hover over the different words, it will highlight which word corresponds, right? Down below then I get some information on the Greek words, in this case hupomnesai, the possibility of running a Bible word study on it, right? Its declination of it, that it's a conjugation, it's a verb, aorist, active, infinitive. Some syntactical information, right? That it's an infinitive of result, and if I hover my mouse over that, I can get some more information about that. The sense information to put in the mind of someone, right? And then I can open up here the different lexicons that I have that define this word. So at a glance here, I get an overview of this word, not just in general, like I might get in a Bible word study, but about what it means, what's the particular sense, what's the syntactical information of this word in this particular passage. So a great way to introduce yourself to the Greek New Testament when you really want to study in depth a certain passage. Now it's important to know with the word by word section that if I hover my mouse over the bar here, the toolbar of the word by word section, I get a settings option, and you want to keep your eye open for these as you're using the guides in Verbum. It's relatively common that more advanced tools within the guides have these settings. And if I open this up, I can choose whether I want to show all words Or in this case, I have it set to show only lemmas that occur 30 times or fewer in the New Testament. And this type of setting is helpful if you have studied a lot of Greek already and you don't necessarily need to know to see the results for some of the more common words. You can configure that however works best for you. Down here below, I can also choose to only show certain parts of speech in the details section, right? And I have it set to verb, noun, adjective, and adverb. But if you want to add pronoun, prepositions, and conjunctions, you can do that here as well. You'll get a longer section, but it might be helpful for you in certain cases. If a word that you are interested in doesn't display, know that this is probably just something that you need to configure here in the settings. The next section is also helpful for studying the original Greek, and it's called Grammatical Constructions. And this section, if I go back over here to the text, we can see here the first, what this section does is it identifies certain grammatical constructions. Scholars at Faith Life have classified over 20 different types of grammatical constructions, and that can be helpful to understand the Greek of the text. In this case, it says that this word that is a clause-level connection. And again, if I hover my mouse over this, I can see that a description of it. This construction consists of the linking of two clauses with a conjunction. It signals no semantic value. The reader must infer the relationship between the two clauses. So this can be very, very useful because a word like that could indicate a causal relationship, right? It could indicate a purpose clause. There's so many different uses for the word that. And here it's simply saying that it's a clausal level connection but with no semantic value. It's simply introducing a new clause. Right? So when we use these tools, it can be very helpful to see what other scholars, the conclusions they have come to regarding semantic and grammatical issues like this one. The next section is called Important Words. And this section, what it is scholars at Faith Life have studied classified all of the different references and descriptions and discussions that are present in commentaries and in lexicons about different Greek words in passages. And what they're indicating here is what are the most important words that are discussed in a certain passage. And here the winner is hapax, this word hapax. You can see here on the left this circle, green circle, indicating how common it is, how frequent it is that technical commentaries, exegetical commentaries discuss a certain word. If I open this section up, I'll see the English text and the word here in this translation translated as once for all, and an invitation to go to the Lemma in passage section. Now I can click on this and go there directly, but it's right here below, so it's simply the next section in the exegetical guide, and it's inviting me, if I want to go to know more about the word hapax in this passage and the discussions that go on about this word as regards this passage, to go to the Lemma in passage section. So let's do that right now. In this case, the Lemma in passage is actually going to classify the way that commentaries, what are the words that commentaries discuss in a passage. In the important words section, we saw only 4 or 5 most important words, right? But here we're going to actually see all the words listed. And if I open up a word, as I've done here with hapax, I can see the different commentaries. For example, here's the Anchor Yale Bible Commentary. And if I expand this out, I'm taken directly to a discussion about the word hapax in Jude, verse 5. So this can be really helpful when you want to study not just a word in general, but a word in a specific passage, right? What are the discussions and the debates that are going on about this word? Well, here I have just at my fingertips all that information. And this is especially useful because this is not only, hapax is an adverb, so it is not declined, but words like verbs and nouns and adjectives and so on that are declined, here we have the word oida, for example, the verb to know, are also recognized and classified in this way. So if I open up here under oida in a critical and exegetical commentary, I can see that the word eidotos, which is a declined form, right, a perfect form of this verb, Verbum has already classified that this is a form of oida, of the lemma oida, and I can easily get reference to that. So incredible work from the scholars at Faithlife that make this tool just so powerful to study how these words are used in the scriptures. The next section here that I'd like to describe in the exegetical guide is called important passages. You may have seen cross-references, right? Lots of Bibles have cross-references to related passages. And important passages is a sort of related passages section. But it's not just cross-references where you have simply a list of passages. It's a list of passages that are then classified as to why there is a relationship between them, right? What scholars at Faithlife have done is actually go through all of our commentaries, all of the lexicons that are available, not just in your library, but in the entire Faithlife platform, and see in the discussions regarding Jude 5, what are the other passages in Scripture that are referenced? And then they're going to rank those. So the number one reference Scripture here is Exodus 12:51, which speaks about the Lord who brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt, right, in the book of Exodus. If we scroll down here a little bit, we see 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4, which says that the Israelites drank from the supernatural rock which followed them when they were in the desert, right, and that rock was Christ. So the same type of idea of Christ who accompanies or who saves the people of Israel, even prior to his birth and incarnation. Now, up here at the top, there's a few options that are interesting for this important passages. If you notice here in Exodus 12:51, right after the passage from Exodus, it says New Testament use of the Old Testament. And this indicates here what type of relationship there is. Why is this an important passage for Jude 5? Well, it's an important passage because Jude 5 here is making reference to the Old Testament. And here is the type of passage in the Old Testament that indicates something very similar. If we scroll down here, there are different reasons why something might be classified. Here it says it's classified as a reference because there's a shared figurative language. Or down here below, both of these passages speak about the house of Israel or the people of Israel, right? And so on. Down here there's the topic of divine punishment is similar in these two passages. If I come up to the top here, I can choose to filter by different references. And this can be very useful based on what I'm actually looking for. For example, if I want to, I can search only based on lexicons. So what are lexicons that reference Jude 5? What other passages do they think are important? And if I choose this result, my results will be very different. 2 Peter 1:12, Jude verse 3, 1 Corinthians 10:5. So if I'm studying the words, this can help me to see maybe other passages where words have exactly the same meaning, for example, as in Jude 5. Depending on what my particular goal is, I can hone in on my cross-references. So a great tool here in important passages. The next tool is ancient literature, and this tool is also available in the passage guide. And it allows you to see moments in which the church fathers and early Christians spoke about a certain passage. So I can open up here, for example, Jerome's epistle number 46, and maybe I don't immediately see where he discusses this passage. I want to show you a little trick that can be helpful. If I open up a search pane, I can go to a basic tab and change my search so that I'm searching in all resources. I can run a search for the text that I'm looking for, in this case Jude 5. And when I do so, it will search in my entire library for Jude 5. And any results that are present will be highlighted. Here down below, my eye is immediately drawn to this number 5, which if I hover over it, says Jude 5. So this can help me to find the reference very quickly. If the reference isn't even on the page, though, I can also navigate to it in a different way. Over here, there is the option there are some arrows, and I can navigate based on here on articles. And this takes me through different milestone markers, right? You can notice here, Jerome letter 46.9, 46.8, 46.7. I can change how the arrows work here by choosing this drop-down, and I can choose search result. And when I do so, now when I click the arrow next, it will take me immediately to the next search result. And what it's doing is it's taking me to the results of my search in my entire library for Jude verse 5. So this can be very helpful to quickly find the search result that you're looking for. So that's ancient literature. The next section is commentaries, and this is self-explanatory. These are all of the commentaries in my library, and I can sort them by priority, by series, by author, by denomination, by type, etc. And here I can go, immediately find a discussion of this passage. Down here below, the final section is called visualizations. And these are sentence diagrams of the passage. If I open up here the Lexham High Definition Bible, I get a discourse analysis of Jude verse 5, which might be very helpful. Again, as normal, I can hover over any of the things that I'm not aware of what this means and see and get a description of what each one of these symbols means. There's also more traditional sentence diagrams. For example, the SBL GNT clausal outlines, which indicates here that I have a concessive adverb, for example, here a subject with substantival, and so on. And it's a diagram of the sentence. So as you can see, the Exegetical Guide has so many tools and can be so useful for studying the original Greek and Hebrew, original Aramaic, but also for diving deep into textual critical issues, into grammatical issues, into learning what the most important words are and the most important cross-references are, and where those come from. So I invite you, if you are looking for a more scholarly approach to Verbum, to keep the Exegetical Guide close at hand. It can be very handy. And if you want to go deeper into questions of how to use Verbum for academic studies like this one, feel free to check out our academic training videos where we dive deep into tools like the Exegetical Guide and so many other tools specifically for academic use.